7 minutes after 1 o'clock. Welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. On this Wednesday, the 1st of April, I have decided today is not going to be April Fool's Day, not for me at least. It is day one of quarter two of the year 2026. We're arranging our lives, we're pivoting, we're making decisions to make us grow and build. We are changing the narrative and changing our stories for better lives. So coming up on the show for today, I want to find out from all of you. We've been seeing a few people coming out saying, I'm in my 40s and I've never been in a relationship, never dated. Some of them even say, I've never even been kissed. Do you know these people? Are you that person? Share with us why. How did you get to that point? Is it fear of rejection? Is it your choice? Or is it the choice of the people that maybe are not interested in you? I want to hear from all of you and maybe tell me about that one aunt that never dated and died single in her 70s, 80s, 90s. I want to hear from you on that, or that uncle. The Business Advantage, we're introducing something quite new to the show. We're going to be speaking to Dr. Diane Boerman, who is a global multi-award winning business growth specialist. And today, we're going to be speaking about personal brand versus business brand. And we look forward to all of you really delving deep into the subject matter because we're elevating ourselves. Finance feature, we're going to talk about the gap in South Africa's financial planning habits. We'll be joined by Buhle Keswa, financial manager, distribution channels at Metropolitan. And then the second hour of the show, as we do on a Wednesday, we have the masterclass. Today, I'm so excited for this one. We're speaking about transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. And we'll be joined by technician at Syntonic, which is a psychiatrist-led mental health and wellness clinic in Saxonwold, Kabetswe, Siluma, around TMS. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702, using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Do you know any people who, let's say 30 and above, right? 30 and above, have never dated, never been in an intimate partner relationship, never been in a relationship with the opposite or same sex, depending where your attraction is skewed. There are people who don't even know what it feels like to be kissed the way Ridge kissed Brooke. Go bold. I'm so curious about the people that have had this life. Now, I think I've touched on the fact before that I know of women who are just single. That aunties bani lived alone, never had kids, never had a partner. I can't really say so about any of the men. I have not interacted with men that have lived lives like that. But what is the story? I'm so curious. And how exactly has it impacted your life? Because I think it is more common than we believe that a person can be 30, 40, 50, even 60, where they have never experienced physical intimacy of any kind. They've never experienced interacting with someone on a certain level like that. And what does that world look like? Especially when we see the fact that we have teenagers and children that are becoming sexualized so early on. And not just sexualized. Some of your aunts and uncles were marrying you off kokasi when you were 5 years old, putting you in a tuxedo and you were marrying some other girl, right? That narrative is always there. And I don't want to make the conversation specifically around virginity, for example, because it's not so much about whether you have your virginity or not. It's more about that type of romantic interaction, that type of interest that is then reciprocated. You're not just having unrequited love where you're in love with somebody who has zero interest in you. But where does that come from? Why does it happen? Share the stories with me. And I have to be honest, I was very, very surprised when the person, one of the people shared this. So I want you to take a listen to Ngo Mjwana, who is 42 years old and says he has never been in a relationship, but he also shares the reasons why.
Okay, I'm 42 years old. I've never been in a relationship. I have never been on a date. I have never even thought about approaching a woman. Yes, people will say if you find somebody who will love you, you will be good enough for them, but there's another side to it, whereby it's not really about whether or not you find somebody that's gonna be attracted to you, but it's also about the fact that you need to be able to provide for that person, whether it's safety, whether it's security, financially, mentally, spiritually, everything else that you may have to provide for that person. I do not have that in me. I do not have to, I do not have the heart to deal with rejection. I do not have the heart to deal with somebody who acts like an infant. Whenever they are not happy about something, then they start throwing tantrums. I am not willing to expose myself in situations where you find somebody with whom you're gonna have a relationship, but everything has to be taken care of by you and they are doing the minimal. Now, I know that it is expected of us as men to be the ones who are approaching, to be the ones who do the providing, to be the ones who offer security. But if I should die, I don't want to die not having lived my life to the full because there's somebody else that I need to take care of.
That is the experience of one gentleman, 42 years old, and has never been in a relationship. He has shared his reasons, and we are not obviously referring to people who are choosing for religious or spiritual beliefs to remain celibate for because they've taken a vow of celibacy. We're not referring to people who are monks, who are nuns, and maybe you are that person and you can share with us why it is you chose that path for yourself. But those of you that have never, or maybe those of you that have experienced the joy and beauty of being loved, of being wanted, of being touched, what do you think of the individuals in their 40s who have never had that experience? 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
All right, let's look at some of your messages that are coming through. One person on the WhatsApp line says, Ridge and Brooke, you put me back in time. Thanks for the lovely show. Remember, for many of us, the first time we saw people kissing was Ridge and Brooke. It was not happening at home. We didn't see intimate kisses like that. That was our very, very first bit of exposure. I actually used to think at a point when I was younger that only white people kiss like that, because we didn't see any other people kiss like that until you start to get exposed to different types of content on screen. Looking at Facebook, some of the messages that are coming through, Khoto says, how is it even possible that a person in their 40s has never been in a relationship or dated? Or do these people just never leave their homes? The only people they interact with is their family. Like, how is this possible? I don't know how to pronounce this, but I think it's Liban, who says, I will not be surprised if majority of them are women. It's much easier for them to get toys nowadays. You see? If a woman, like, how did we get so far down this rabbit hole? Because it isn't just about intercourse. It isn't just about intercourse. Like, and if a person's in their 40s now, toys were not really a thing like 20 years ago, like that. It was rare if you even saw a woman walk into an adult world. Shafiq Suleiman on Facebook just posted a red flag saying that is a red flag. Mukete says, who are those people? Show their pictures and I'll tell you what I know about them and why they've never dated. You guys can be so mean. Guys, it sometimes has nothing to do with how you look. And let me tell you what I mean that it has nothing to do with how you look. If you watch the TLC show, My 600-Pound Life. Now, if you don't know the show, it's a show about people who weigh like 220 kilograms upwards of 320 kilograms. So I'm talking people who are severely obese. Some of them can't walk. Some of them, when they're getting help, and it follows their journey of them going to see a doctor to help them with weight loss surgery. But some of them, when they're even going to get help, they have to get a crane in to take them to the hospital to get them out of their house. The point I'm trying to make is the people on My 600-Pound Life, every episode you have watched, they have a spouse, those people. They have a partner. All of them. All of them have a partner. So this idea that maybe it's about how you look, I don't buy it. Mpefering says, Franz Hutting rather said, it is definitely more common than most would like to believe. I am 40 years old and I have never dated and I don't sleep with people either. And people are responding saying, this is a lie. Bulelani says, it is very common and not unusual. Those people normally are attached to nobody, sleep around weekly with different women or men, and their greatest moments are spent during the hours of the night. Well, Bulelani, you also have to take a moment to understand that we are referring to the people that there isn't even the physical intimacy. They just have, that part is also not there. They don't know what it feels like to possibly even be kissed. People are conditioned by their parents, situations, and circumstances. Social media has shaped people's perception of what love life really is and should be like. But the reality is that everyone's life is different. We see how people are constantly separating, and it, for me, makes me doubt whether people are just together for convenience, whether it's emotions or it's finances. And that is truly, truly a valid. Relebogile team, the way I understand that 42-year-old guy is where it's now popular amongst men. And most men don't even bother to engage and propose to women because it seems expensive for most men to date, etc. Exclusive topic on this in future, please. How it is expensive for men to date. I feel like, have we not touched on this? I feel like we've touched on it. I'm happy to bring it back. The show, of course, is also for you. Lugilen Benoni says, this 42-year-old, I feel like there's more to the story. The reasons are not reasoning, at least from my viewpoint. He is, what a shaisha is what he's basically saying. Please translate, Abel, what is to shaisha in English? Huh? What's to shaisha? You are, yo, guys, I don't know what to shaisha. He's fooling us. No, that's not the accurate. Somebody help me with what is khushaisha in English. Some of your voice notes are coming through on 072 702 1702.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. This is very intriguing conversation. How then, what was the mother or father like to that person? How can you go through life without even kissing, touching, not even sexually, just human interaction. How does that happen? Very intriguing. Sarah from How to Be a Sport.
That is the
Afternoon, Relebogile. Mochita fell na le Guababa and stingy. Finish and clear.
Hi, Relebogile. I think the people in their 30s, 40s, and up who've never been in a relationship, for them, it's probably not as big a deal as it is for those of us who have been, because it's a case of you don't know what you're missing. So to them, they're probably just living their lives, and we are probably more um, affected by this choice than they are. But it is a very interesting topic. Tshidi.
Oh, CD, my question is simple because I hear what you're saying that maybe the people don't know what they are missing, ne? But even a baby knows when they're born that they need something. Even babies need to be rocked and cuddled and soothed. I would imagine that everybody in them innately has a longing for some level of companionship. Not to say that the people who have a healthy group of friends, all of those things, are not living full lives. But I can only imagine that sometimes a person's like, it would be nice, even if somebody were just here watching this movie with me, that we're laughing together, somebody holding my hand. Can I also just book that movie seat, the love seat that doesn't have the armrest in between? Is like, I'm confused. Sammy Centurion, hi.
Hello, Relebogile.
Go ahead, Sammy.
Relebogile, that from what I've heard, the audio that you just played, I think the guy is in a situation where he's looking at life, at relationship from other people's experiences. Like, I hear him saying, I don't want to be put in a situation where I'm facing a financial burden, where I'm in a relationship with someone that expects me to provide for them financially. While it is a reality for most relationships where you are a man and then you are faced with financial expectations in a relationship. But I think what he needs to do is just to get in a relationship, and then when he encounters that situation, when he encounters a relationship where he's in a relationship with a woman who's got financial expectations, he needs to put his foot down and say, you know what, I'm in a relationship with you. We got into the relationship because we are physically attracted to each other, right? We are physically attracted to each other. What you get from me is a companionship and intimacy, and that's what I'm getting for you in return. So if you are going to expect me to start spending money on you, they call it girlfriend allowance. If you are going to expect this girlfriend allowance from me, then that's the end of the story. I'm not your father. I'm not your father. I'm not your uncle. I'm not your brother. So I think that's the direction where the guy needs to take. Because for you to start saying, no, I don't want to face financial expectations, I don't think that's the way to go. He needs to pursue a relationship, and then when he faces financial expectations, he needs to put his foot down and say, it's either you stop for financial expectations or your relationship is over.
Oh, Sammy, I think you've hit the nail on the head there with what you are saying, that it's potentially you making a decision based on what others have said. There's also the possibility that maybe you've never been in a relationship because the opportunity never presented itself. There's also that possibility where you have a crush on somebody. There's somebody who, it might not even be physical attraction, but you find yourself thinking about them. Now you're like, why can't I stop thinking about Abel? I just want to phone him. Maybe I can even, the next time I speak to him, I'm like trying to get a bit closer to see what his cologne smells like. Like, beyond all those other things. More of your voice notes on 072 702 1702. coming through. Here are some of your WhatsApps. I'm 71 years old and have been celibate for more than 10 years. My loving husband passed away many years ago after a long illness. Since then, I have been on a spiritual journey when I can hopefully reach enlightenment before I pass. I'm happy and I do hug people, and every day I thank God that I had a perfect love story. Be blessed. Thank you for sharing. Relebogile 702, regarding asexuality prevalence, please consider above in your discussion. Check on the internet for more information. That's from Dr. Philemon Mahuma. We'll definitely have that conversation. Maybe it's even us having a series on different sexualities, because there's so many, not gender identities, sexualities. The other one says pulling the wool over our eyes. Voice notes coming through.
Good afternoon, 702. Cecilia, the person who's saying shy is not, it's incorrect. It's to shy. That means it's lying to us.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. Trust you good. Well, I'm married, and I've been married now for 21 years and still loving it. And for me, it was about the emotional support and companionship, having someone to share life's challenges with, and the successes that comes with it as well. You know, the emotional reassurance from having a life partner, less pressure to handle everything alone, not having to deal with life's challenges alone, and having that support structure at the end of the day. And I'm assuming why some are still single to this day might be some of the reasons where it would be personal freedom and independence, financial autonomy.
That guy is trying to escape what he thinks is the responsibility that innately comes with loving someone. When you love someone, you will want to care for them, provide for them, and protect them. That comes out of love. And I think at the end of the day, also maybe he's saying he doesn't want to be disappointed. We are human, we are fallible. Disappointment is one of those things that come with it. You either you will, or either you won't be disappointed. But that's the chance we take when we choose to love.
Beautifully said. The chance we take when we choose to love. Relebogile, this is too good to be true unless if the person is dead. This is meant to go Soweto. Relebogile, I have a sister who was single until the age of 37, and her reasons was due to past trauma. My dad was very abusive and did not treat my mom very well, so that drove her not to trust in men. She even decided to date a white man today due to that. Anonymous, that last part of the message is so random. You're saying she's single, she decided to date a white man today, but I'm so confused. Unless you're saying she's saying she will only date white men. I don't know. I'm very confused. From Anonymous, I'm a guy, I'm going to be 40, never been in a relationship, was always discriminated against based on being dark-skinned in the Indian community. So nobody looked at me as a candidate for their daughters. So I just stuck to faith and looking after my parents. Colorism is trauma that affects us. Listen, we need to have the conversation about colorism. We can't talk about it enough. We need to talk about that. I'm so sorry, Anonymous. Afternoon, Relebogile and team. I think this guy is a mama's boy, maybe even a lost born in a family of girls. He grew up at Efiswa. Guys, you guys are making me work with translating when my bundles are finished. That's why he can't think of taking care of another human being. He says he does not want to take care of a person who behaves like an infant. It's time for the news. It's after 1:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. An investigation is underway into the cause of a crash which left 5 people dead on the N1 highway near Mudimule in Limpopo this morning. According to officials, the crash happened when a vehicle tried to make a U-turn on the highway. That crash resulted in the partial closure of the major highway for most of today. Mitchell's Plain residents have expressed mixed feelings about the deployment of the SANDF to the area today. About 200 soldiers were deployed to gang hotspots in Cape Town today. In Tafelsig, one of the areas worst hit by gang violence in that province. The troops joined police in raiding suspected drug dens and gang strongholds. And the Northern Cape government says it's receiving legal challenges from public servants who are refusing to submit to lifestyle audits. The audits became mandatory in 2022 in attempts to minimize corruption, but the province has told Parliament's Public Service and Administration Committee today that it lacks both the internal capacity and budget to conduct those audits. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic this afternoon, if you're in Protea Glen, expect heavy delays on the N12 in both directions. There are also delays on the R554. This is as you head towards Lenasia. In Centurion, traffic is at a crawl on the N1 South between Summerand Avenue and the New Road. This is due to road works. And in Pretoria, there's slow-moving traffic on the N14 North. This is between UFS Road, hope I got that right, and Old Johannesburg Road.
UFIS.
Okay, UFIS.
Wait, I also could be wrong. I'm lying. Yeah, Papa.
Traffic lights are out in Kyalami at Kyalami Boulevard in Kenilworth, as well as in Midrand at the N1 South and Olifantsfontein. Likewise, if you come across any other traffic and you know how to pronounce that word, come through 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. This Easter weekend, slow things down and savor the moments that matter. Let 702 be the soundtrack to your long weekend. Made for long drives, shared meals, and time well spent with the people you love. From the classics you grew up with on 702 Music Saturday to the rich, soulful sounds of Soulful Sundays. It's music that feels like home. Whether you're on the road, gathered with family, or stealing a quiet moment to yourself, we're right there with you. Take us with you wherever you go. Listen to 702 Live on the Prime Media Plus app. Just press play this Easter. 702. Let's walk the talk.
Dreaming of a home renovation? We see you. Cash Build and Capitec bring you the partnership that has both the quality building materials you need and access to an affordable home improvement loan with competitive interest rates and extended repayment terms. Apply in-store at Cash Build or any Capitec branch between March 30th and April 30th to stand a chance to win a 20,000 Rand Cash Build voucher and other prizes. T's and C's apply. Capitec is an authorized provider and FSP. Initiation and service fee apply.
Stand a chance to win a share of a red-hot 3 million Rand with the Hollywood Bet Spinner Zonke jackpot race. Enter the chase and enjoy a feast of fun where every spin could unlock riveting rewards. To start your adventure, bet 2 Rand or more on selected Habanero games every Wednesday, Friday and Saturday between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. The racing revolution starts now. Dive in and prepare to take top spot. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
In the world of finance, manufacturing and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
The Money Show. Weekday evenings at 6.
Sanisha Pakarasamy is the investments chief economist. Sanisha, what is this going to do to inflation? As those new fuel prices come in, so many people will feel an impact immediately.
Many of our food products are actually transported by road, and so there can potentially be a food price impact about 3 to 6 months. There is a bit of a time lag by the time the food gets from the farmers to the end retailer. So the overall impact on the consumer can be a bit more significant.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by ABSA Sponsorships. For 20 years, ABSA has been a proud sponsor of the ABSA Cape Epic. And now they're giving you a chance to take your grit to the gravel. Join Team ABSA Cycling on Strava Upload your rides and you could win one of 2 APSA Cape Epic 2027 team entries. Because your story matters. APSA is a registered FSP.
Your voice.
Your life.
Your afternoon radio.
On 702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
23 minutes to 3 o'clock. We're going to jump into a conversation with Dr. Diane Boerman around, or we would call the conversation the business advantage. And we're going to be talking about personal brand versus business brand. And I encourage all of you, if there's anything around business that you'd like us to have a conversation about, 702 Afternoons at 702.co.za. Now, Dr. Diane Boerman is a global multi-award winning business growth specialist, and she joins us on the show. Doctor, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for letting me return. It was so overwhelming the last time that I was here that we got so many questions. So it's great to be able to answer as many. And please reach out in the future to myself or 702 and ask your business questions. That's what we're here for. We need to make a bigger impact in South Africa and our economy, especially with what's happening around the world and in South Africa. So it's really awesome to be here.
And look, we as a people are concerned and nervous about what the future looks like. People are looking at their options. People are wanting to explore different things. So today, us covering personal brand versus the business brand, this obviously gives a lot of context. Rather, when a person is in a small business, we have a lot of one-man shows that are doing their thing. So let's start with the difference between a business brand and a personal brand, and maybe even take a step back and chat about what a brand is.
Perfect. So a personal brand is really about the people in the business. So it's about building the trust, because often as we change in business, we change the way we purchase. So buying philosophies and what is happening with the amount of AI and future tech, we needing to trust people more. So that's why the personal brand is becoming more and more important. After the last time that I was on 702, I had a number of questions from the audience that asked, they've just left corporate and they've started a business. What must they do? And it's all about trust. People can't trust unless you prove something. So personal brand is exactly that. It's about building the trust of the person before the business. The business brand, it's all about advertising and marketing and making sure the vision and the mission behind the business is becoming important. So we always build the brand in order to market or advertise something. So you can look at any of the big brands out there, you have a feeling behind the brand. And that's exactly what it is. The brand is just the business, but from a visual point of view. So it could be the logo, it could be what it stands for. And that becomes really important for us as we move forward. Your personal brand needs to be recognizable, needs to be relatable, and needs to be credible. So it's all about your reputation. So I've mentioned it often to my clients, and I would say to them, if you are going into the sustainability of products, I can't see you on your Facebook, on your social media with a plastic cup in your hand, because that's not sustainable. So if you're building a personal brand, make sure you know exactly what it is that you stand for. However, if it's a business brand, that I need to understand what it is behind the business. What are you building? What industry are you in? Do you know which direction you're going in? Are you creating confusion? What is really behind that business that makes me want to buy from you? And that's the difference between the two. The brand is really your business from a visual point of view. A personal brand is about you, the CEO, the entrepreneur, whereas the business brand is about what your business stands for. And that's really important as you move forward now, because people are buying from trust element. So a strong personal brand will be very organic. It should be about loyalty, connections, your trust, That's your personal brand. And that helps shorten sales cycles. It also helps you build much deeper relations with the people that you're going to be selling to or partnering with, even. That becomes really important. So we don't want to confuse the business brand and the personal brand at all as we move along. We need to make sure that the business stands for something specific and that the person stands for something specific. Sometimes there could be some linking together, which you really want it to be, but you don't want it overlapping one another.
So let me ask then, in the era of social media, where we know that the digital platforms are a great marketing tool, we see so many small businesses coming up that are built off of people's passions and side hustles and hobbies. How do those two worlds come together? Because, like you said, if you are building a business around sustainability, but now you are there using all this plastic and you're not representing what your business stands for, at what point does the personal end and the business begin in the era of social media where everybody is pushing hard online?
And it's very relevant because a lot of small businesses want to only use social media as their marketing tool. Remember who your client is ultimately. You either are selling B2B, business to business, or business to consumer, to the end user. If you're selling business to consumer, to the end user, you need to start talking about what are the value behind the products, what is the product or the offering that you're selling. If you're selling it B2B to business, then social media is more about educating, because you want to educate whoever's buying from you. So making sure that your personal brand is how you go out there, how do you sell, can people understand exactly why they're trusting you in the area? Do you have enough knowledge behind your industry? Are you credible enough? Are you sharing enough information on social media? That will be the building of the knowledge base. And that's normally when you sell B2B. And also how you build in your brand. If you're selling to the end user, there you're going to be doing a lot more advertising on social media, which is also part of the brand, but people want to see more of the business side then. So if you sell into that end user on social media in particular, you're more talking about how to sell. What are the benefits behind the product? What are the ingredients inside the product, etc. So it's an educational side of the sales point of view, but it's very different from building your personal brand. So a personal brand will be, for example, if you say you're global brand, are you really? Can I see you traveling internationally, or do you just sit at home behind your laptop? If you say that you are a keen traveler, it's about letting your customers understand a little bit more about you as well. So what are your likes? What are your dislikes? What do you stand for? What are your values? Those are the important side behind the personal brand. And then as you build your business brand, the bigger the business gets, the less of you that needs to be part of it. So starting off as an entrepreneur, your personal brand in the early stages, it's really about your face and about your voice. It's about the energy of your business. That creates your clarity and your confidence. And there has to be consistency in order to attract your clients, partners, opportunities. But once that foundation is strong, then the business brand needs to start stepping in, because ultimately we should be building businesses to sell one day. So you can't sell yourself, you can't sell your brand. So you need to make sure that your business brand then starts coming into play. And that's important, because you now need to start talking about what's in your business plans. So what is your vision and what is your mission? Those are important. How are you going to scale? How are you going to grow as you move forward?
So
And that's how you build brands differently.
Yeah, so let me ask this, Doctor. For the person who is thinking about or has just started their small business and they're unsure where to begin, especially around the personal brand because of the relationship it has with the business brand, what tools are already at their disposal? Are the tools asking your friends or people you know, hey, what is your perception of me? If I told you that I'm going to start making candles, does that align? Like, what are the things people can do today?
We are so lucky with social media and what we have just at our tips of our fingers. So when we look at social media, we've got things like LinkedIn where people can go and do recommendations for you. People need to talk about you, what you can share with information out there. You've got Google reviews. So the moment somebody buys something from you, they can go and Google review either your product or you. I would do both of them. It's important to have that consistency of your brand. People need to be talking about your brand all the time. Whether it's good or bad, we don't want to go the bad side so much, but we do want to have that consistency. And sometimes when people are talking about your brand from a negative point of view, it gives you great opportunity to rectify certain things. And most of the time, it's to rectify a customer journey. Somebody hasn't enjoyed the journey along the way, or the expectations that you've built from a brand perspective, you're not matching them. So it's a great opportunity for you to make some changes. So the moment you post something on social media, you want people to comment. You want people to start talking about it. You want people to be sharing your posts. So remember that it's not just about you when you do it, but in the beginning, when you leaving that corporate space or stepping into that entrepreneurial space, it's definitely going to be about you first before you build your brand as you move forward.
Doctor, I'm so looking forward to us having more conversations around businesses and all of the tools you're going to share with myself and the listeners. This is the first of many conversations to come. And if you have questions that are business related, 702 afternoons at 702.co.za.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
For Sumzi, there was that question about faith, and then the question about what's the point of praying if then you're also going to be told, but it's the will of God. So then it's already decided. So, Ngthanda Zeland.
The issue of definition of faith. It's one of those things where it doesn't matter how it is explained to you. It will either make sense to you or it doesn't make sense to you. In and of itself, faith is something that exists within us. It is not an abstract. It is not like something that lives intellectually. As human beings, we believe in something.
Busumzi Mwande, the author of Jenny Kwantu.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a Clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. It's easy to apply. No medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
You hear that? That's the sound of business execution finally visible. No more chasing people and reports. No more disconnected systems. No more guessing if our business is performing or not. iStratGo connects strategy, people, performance, and day-to-day work into one clear software platform, so leaders can see what's working, what's not, and where to focus. Because when execution is visible, everything runs better. Book a demo on istratgo.com. istratgo.com.
Running a small business is not just about having a great idea. It's about having the right tools to grow it. That's exactly where MTN Business comes in. Beyond the 702 MTN Small Business Awards, they are doing a lot more to support SMEs. Today on 702 Drive with John Perlman, they'll be in conversation with MTN Business looking at how their connectivity solution Tower is helping small businesses stay connected and competitive. So tune in and find out how they can help take your business further too. MTN Business, let's talk shop on 702.
702. 702. Finance feature.
9 minutes to 2 o'clock in our finance feature for today that is brought to you by Stanlib Asset Management. Invest in more. We are chatting to Buhle Keswa, who's a financial manager, distribution channels at a Metropolitan, around the gap in South Africa's financial planning habits. If ever there were a time to have this conversation, it is now. The petrol has gone up. Yo, siyagowi sha. Siyagowi sha. Bushle, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Relebogile, and you pronounced it spot on.
I know.
Spot on.
So let's chat quickly around financial planning habits. I mean, we have a finance feature. We regularly talk about different things around finances. Where is the problem in terms of the planning? Because on the one hand, you'll have people who say, I just need to earn more. I mean, I even see people joking to say, you know, guys, I just want to let you know, and I'm going to tell my boomer parents that I stopped buying coffee at work. Now I can afford to buy a house. Like, it's real.
It's very real, Relebogile. And another thing that you need to remember is that we are a country that is struggling with financial literacy. And for me, that is the beginning of it all. Because we do not know how to handle our finances. I mean, from a young age, it doesn't just happen. From a young age, we don't have the conversations in our family about finances, about how to handle money. And I think I'm touching on a lot of topics that are challenges in South Africa. I don't want to go into why people are drinking, why people are not saving, because of the lack of financial literacy.
And I mean, we've touched on all the things about the why, relationships with money. What are we compensating for, the psychology behind it? Now, if we go into the planning habits, they say that adopting a new habit can take 21 days, right? I don't know if that's still the current thing. But if there were to be one financial habit that you could advise us to all start implementing today, what would that thing be and why? Is it tracking what you're spending? Because I notice a person will say, I earn 5,000 Rand a month, I spend this, but I'm still owing people, and every month I must owe and pay back, which to me says there's a discrepancy. Your budget says this is where your 5,000 is going, but what's happening in real life is not the same thing.
And I like that you say the budgeting from a personal finance perspective. And I know it's daunting to most people. I know it's not something comfortable, because if you don't have such conversations when you're growing up, it's not something that comes naturally to you. But what I can say to people is I've actually seen that most banks on their apps, they actually have a budgeting thing where even now, if I can go onto my banking app, I know that they've even segmented it to groceries, to entertainment, to whatnot. So as a starting point, I would say just look at that and just be intentional at saying, okay, but also, you can't plan for what you don't know. If you don't know where you are planning to go for yourself, for your family, for the next generation, then you will not see the need to start today.
Are there certain categories that we limit ourselves to when we think about financial planning? Example, savings and expenses. Like, what are the things that maybe we're kind of missing when it comes to sitting down and doing the goals? Because if you just say, these are my expenses, these are my savings, maybe there are blind spots we're missing out on.
There are a lot of blind spots. And yes, we can do today's financial planning to say, okay, for this month, this is what I need to do. But we need to do our current financial planning. And then we need to go a step further to say, okay, what about 5 years from now? What about 10 years from now? And I just like the viewers to understand that you don't have to start big. You don't have to start with 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 Rand. It's the little 100 Rand, the 50 Rand that you're intentional about growing that's going to get you there tomorrow. Because I think with everything that's going on now, fuel prices, food prices going up, all of that is going to need you, which is one of the pots, the emergency fund. That if you live just within your means, when things like this happen and your petrol cost has escalated, then what do we do?
What do we say about the fact that as South Africans, we have 48% of adults that have funeral cover compared to the 33% of those that have savings?
again, Relebogile, unfortunately, it comes back to financial literacy. But furthermore, when we talk about the funeral versus life cover, there are also a few aspects that we need to look at. We have the fact that because we don't plan for the future, we try and cover the sudden death instances that happen with the funeral cover. And then we do not focus then on the long-term savings. And again, Relebogile, there's also a notion that because people become educated, that the financial literacy comes with it. But again, because of the type of country that we live in, that it's not something that everyone has been exposed to. And because of that, we come back to people not having the knowledge to say, okay, yes, I live for today, but there's also the future. What happens after I die? Because the one problem with funeral is that you will get a funeral cover, but it only covers the immediate expenses. And then tomorrow, your children need to wake up and continue living. But without you there planning, helping, having the stable income, what happens with them?
And these are the very, very important questions that one needs to ask themselves when we look at financial planning habits. And I'm sure we'll pick this up again. We can see the trends, not just with alcohol consumption, with gambling, and just our relationships with money as a whole. Buhle Keswa, Financial Manager, Distribution Channels at Metropolitan.
More isn't just a word. It is Stand-Up Asset Management's commitment to doing better every day for our clients. It's about investing to create futures and delivering on our promises. It's about never giving up on better, because better starts with more. We invest in more to give investors data-led insights that transform, portfolios built for a changing world, and consistent performance you can trust. Stand-Up Asset Management. Invest in more. Stand-Up Asset Management is an authorized financial services provider.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
Musi Matlala's lawyer says the ad hoc committee used information purportedly retrieved from his client's personal devices and from correspondence either sent from him or to him via WhatsApp. But after having already given testimony on their contents, Matlala is now questioning how the committee obtained this evidence. His lawyer has sent Parliament a slew of questions about the extraction process, asking the committee to provide details of the devices from which the information was taken. But Parliament legal advisor Andile Tejana says Matlala signed a consent form for the extraction of information by the SAPS in May 2025.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon. I'm Bali Lamini. An investigation is underway into the cause of a crash which left 5 people dead on the N1 highway near Modimolle, Limpopo this morning. According to officials, the crash happened when a vehicle tried to make a U-turn on the highway. The crash then resulted in the partial closure of the major roadway. The crash comes as traffic volumes are expected to increase significantly on the N1 over the Easter weekend. Limpopo Transport spokesperson Chifiwa Dali.
There is a sedan which was traveling towards Gauteng. which initially recklessly wanted to make a U-turn. And the car which was behind had to go to the oncoming vehicles, hence the coalition of the vehicle from Polokwane and also the other one from Gauteng, which resulted in the severe loss of life.
Mitchell's Plain residents have expressed mixed feelings about the deployment of the SANDF to the area today. About 200 soldiers were deployed to gang hotspots in Cape Town earlier. In Tafelsig, one of the areas was hit by gang violence in the province. The troops joined police in raiding suspected drug dens as well as gang strongholds. Carlo Peterson is there.
A Tafelsig family were left furious today after the SANDF, SAPS and Metro Police raided their home in Matapos Crescent. The raid was part of the SANDF's deployment to gang hotspots in Cape Town today. A woman living at the premises who asked not to be named says the troops and officers raided the wrong house. She says gangs like the Prominent Americans gang are being allowed to operate freely while the rest of the community suffers. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News in Tafelsig, Mitchell's Plain.
The Northern Cape government says it is receiving legal challenges from public servants who are refusing to submit lifestyle audits. The audits became mandatory in 2022 in attempts to minimize corruption. But the province has told Parliament's Public Service and Administration Committee today that it lacks both the internal capacity and budget to conduct the audits. Premier Zamani Sol says through the Special Investigating Unit, the province has only completed just over 60% of the required audits. Lindsay Dentlinger has more.
5 premiers and their directors general have appeared before Parliament today to provide updates on the progress made in conducting lifestyle audits. But the Northern Cape says unlike its richer provinces, the audits are swallowing up its already limited budget. Premier Zamani Sol says the decision to contract the SIU to conduct the audits at a cost of 13 million rand was met with backlash. However, Saul says last year's September deadline for completing the audits for 590 officials has not been met.
Only 367 is complete. And we've got a non-submission of about 216, which is roughly about 40%.
Director General Justice Beke Beke says he's facing an uphill battle to get officials to hand over their personal information.
If we thought that this was a program that was welcomed by the bulk of the civil servants, my experience or our experience in the province, it has not been.
He says the province has enlisted the advice of the state law advisor to get officials to comply. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
The IEC says a change to its logo and tagline ahead of the upcoming local government elections does not mean its values have shifted. The Commission made the assurance while officially unveiling its new logo as well as tagline at the Gallagher Convention Centre in Midrand today. With local government elections likely to be held in November, the first registration drive will be taking place in June. Alfara Mshwana has more.
Get up, show up and vote. This is the tagline accompanying the logo for the upcoming local government elections. The new logo incorporates dominant shades of blue, turquoise and orange. IEC chairperson Mosotho Moepya says the logo and tagline were designed to attract the youth to vote.
The logo is new, it is fresh, and it reflects renewal and a progressive direction in our electoral democratic journey. But let us be clear, while the symbol may change, the values it represents do not. Our commitment to free and fair elections is perennial.
While the elections are likely to take place in November, the IEC is still waiting for the Cooperative Governance Minister to announce the official date. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Midrand.
And a suspected cybercrime boss has been extradited from Cambodia to his home country, China. Authorities say Li Xiong is a key figure in a multi-billion-dollar online scam network operating across Southeast Asia. He is believed to be linked to another alleged kingpin who was also extradited to China earlier this year. Cambodia has become a major base for cyber scams, with syndicates targeting victims worldwide through fake relationships and crypto investment schemes. Officials say they are stepping up efforts to shut down scam centers believed to be harming the country's economy and global image. Gold is trading at $4,721.81 an ounce. The rand is at 16.84 to the dollar, 22.36 to the pound, 19.49 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $101.80 a barrel.
In Kelvin, expect heavy delays on the N3 South from the Betlu interchange towards the Galulis interchange. And in Sunning Hill, there's traffic pressure on the N1 South between Woodmead Drive and Rivonia Road.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 29 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour: an investigation is underway into the cause of a crash which left 5 people dead on the N1 highway near Modimolle.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
8 minutes after 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. And on this masterclass for today in the month of April, we are delving into something quite interesting, TMS. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. You might be imagining those horror movies where they would have this psych ward and people in strap jackets, and then they're putting something on their head and the person is screaming. Let's find out all about it. We're joined in that conversation by Eyewitness Siluma, and we will chat about that. She's a TMS technician at Syntonic, a psychiatrist-led mental health and wellness clinic that is in Saxonwold. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702
Masterclass.
Masterclass time on 702 Afternoons. I've been so curious about this conversation that happened by chance. But the masterclass with me, Relebogile Mabotja, is brought to you by Standard Bank Travel. Download the Standard Bank app and book your next trip via Standard Bank Travel. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. So I found myself at a wellness center, which I go to for a completely different treatment that I'll tell you guys about on another day. And when I was there, I happened to see a flyer. And I thought to myself, this is interesting. What is this about? So I asked them to say, hey, this is so cool. I think you should come talk about it on my radio show. We've been talking about this conversation happening for months, and finally it is here. And I'm so, so grateful that Gabetsu is with us. Gabetsu Siluma. And it's all around transcranial magnetic stimulation. And if you have experienced this kind of treatment in any shape or form, please get in touch with us and share your journey. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Oskia, you made it.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. I'm so excited that we finally get to have this conversation.
Me too.
It's been long, hey? It has been long. Thank you, Team Pashida, for making this happen. I want to, before we get into the transcranial magnetic part of the conversation, I want to find out about you and your journey in this field. How did you become a technician in this space, and what did it take for you to get to that place?
Okay, first of all, thank you for having me. I have a background in psychology, first of all. And, you know, the directors of Syntonic, when they got the TMS machine itself, they were looking for someone with a background in psychology and someone who, because I also did some counseling at SADAC, the South African Depression Anxiety Group. And, I gained some therapeutic skills, counseling skills there. So they were looking for someone with that kind of background. And, to cut the story short, that is how I ended up there. And even myself, I didn't know what TMS was. So it was quite an interesting, it has been actually quite an interesting journey for me, and it's still going.
So for anybody who would like context, if you're wondering why would somebody be looked for something that didn't exist, the particular wellness center, Syntonic, what they do is they find alternative methods of treatment. And when I say alternative, it's not the common thing that you would find in a clinic. We actually had the founders on the show. It might have been 2 years ago or so, when they were still referred to as Equanimity Wellness. And at the time, the conversation we're having was around ketamine infusions that is, done hand in hand with, with therapy, with psychotherapy. And I thought that is just the most fascinating thing. Those of you that know me know I'm always curious about any kind of healing modem that is available there. So TMS and what came in. So when they then brought this machine in, I'm assuming it was something quite new in the country or Gauteng. Maybe share with us, is it something that you yourself had even heard about prior to being introduced to this machine and you needing to have the psychology background to support you being able to work with it?
To be quite honest, I did not know about it. And, to a certain extent, it does sound scary and bizarre. So I did not know about it. And I think it was interesting that I came across it along with the founders of Syntonic. And, they taught me about it, trained me into it, and it has been quite interesting. It is not as scary as it sounds. Really, it isn't, because I know it sounds, like we're zapping you or whatever.
Yes.
But, you can imagine when someone asks me what I do for work, it is always a very interesting conversation. Yeah, because I have to tell them I zap people's depression out of them.
Please tell me in your home language what you do for a living. Tell me in your home language. You see, already we know it's going to be difficult if you can't explain it. But I think that speaks to the fact that these methodologies and modems are new, but not just new. We are still finding ways to integrate them into your everyday type of treatments. Now, before we get to at what point is this an option for a person, can you explain to us, back in the day, when we would see in movies, like I was sharing earlier, that person screaming, "I'm not crazy," and then they come and it's and then suddenly they're there limp, they can't think properly, and there is that sort of fear of what if you find yourself being admitted into a mental institution where now you're telling people you're not crazy and they say, that's what everybody says. And then now they're giving you treatment. Now you are crazy. Now you can't leave. So is that in any way connected to that type of therapy, which was more electric?
I'm actually really happy that you asked this question, because it's very important.
It looks the same.
No,
I mean, the pictures look the same. Yes.
I think it's an important question to ask, because there's quite a distinction, What you're describing now would be shock therapy, or as known, ECT, electroconvulsive therapy. It is very different to TMS, in a sense that with ECT you would be, you'd be under, like in terms of anesthesia would be administered, seizures would be happening, and you're not aware. Whereas with TMS itself, you're actually an active participant within the treatment itself. You're awake. There's no surgery. It's non-invasive. There's no anesthesia that is provided. It is very different. And they both have quite different effects, if I can put it that way. But of course, when someone says TMS, I think that's the first place that you go to, That's where your brain and your mind takes you to. So, yeah.
And that's why I like to dispel some of the myths early on so that everybody listening is not listening with that picture in their minds. So now that we've differentiated that there's the electric shock therapy part, which uses electricity, and then there's that dial, which, by the way, I'm just realizing is the same as the one that they put people to death with. Oh my gosh, how did I just realize that?
You're scaring people.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. It's not my day. I'm just having these moments of realization. Now we have to have that masterclass. Pashida, make a note so we can dispel those myths. But now that we know, talk to us about once you were introduced to the machine, what was your understanding of what it does prior to now that you have learned it and you've seen its effects? What did you think it was, especially because you have a background in psychology? And I don't know if as a psychologist or a therapist, if you have to be a little bit open-minded to it. Is it the type of therapy that is considered alternative? Or is it a therapy that actually is regularly prescribed? It's just not common in South Africa.
So prior to me having the knowledge that I do now about the TMS, with any mental health treatments, especially with the world evolving, it also means that there will be evolving treatments, right? And as a fresh graduate at the time, you don't really know anything more outside of your traditional methods of treating mental health. That includes your antidepressants, psychiatry, psychology, and then the unfortunate ECT, the shock therapy. So when I first got introduced to the TMS, I thought, oh my gosh, something new, something alternative. It's a novelty treatment, and it's another way to give people hope that they have not found with antidepressants. So maybe antidepressants doesn't help them, or they need something more than psychotherapy. So I thought to myself, this is something great that we can introduce some more and show people that there's still hope. So, and I think that is giving people hope is it's an excellent, it's a life-changing thing.
All right, we need to take a break. When we come back, we continue having this conversation around TMS.
Need a seat? Try 7 or 5. It's your call. Want a sunroof? Make it a panoramic. Gotta have power? How does award-winning 138 kilowatt sound? The Changan CS75 Pro is big enough for the kids, smart enough for your playlist, and stylish enough for your Friday night too. Why settle when you can have it all without compromise? The Changan CS75 Pro. Drive tomorrow's SUV today. Visit changanmotors.co.za for more.
Changan, driven to evolve. The pain of losing a loved one is never easy. It will leave you feeling overwhelmed. At Clientele, we understand that burying loved ones with dignity truly matters. Our funeral plans pay out cash within just 24 hours, and you receive 200 Rand airtime when you claim to make those important calls. Plus, we cover up to 13 people on one plan. SMS funeral to 31586. That's 31586. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
The Vodacom United Rugby Championship is one of the hottest tournaments on the planet. Hollywood Bets adds spice with an epic competition in which 400,000 Rand in cash, prizes and betting vouchers must be won. Prizes include a Vodacom URC VIP experience and a glamorous Table Mountain adventure. To enter, simply bet 30 Rand or more on any Vodacom URC fixture between 23 January and 16 May. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp HELP to 076 675 0710.
Small business owners speak a language of their own, and it's a language MTN Business and 702 understand very well. That's why we're celebrating SMEs who walk that entrepreneurial talk in the 702 Small Business Awards. From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between, small businesses are proving that big things can grow from bold ideas. If that sounds like your business or one you know, go to primediaplus.com or enter or even nominate them. Because once we start talking about your business, who knows how much further it could go. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's and C's apply.
Big questions, smart answers, real insight. The Masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja. Brought to you by Standard Bank Travel on 702.
21 minutes after 2 o'clock in our masterclass for today, we continue with our conversation with Eyewitness Siluma, talking transcranial magnetic stimulation. And she is a technician at a psychiatrist-led mental health and wellness clinic. 011-883-0702 and the WhatsApp line 072-702-1702. I want to pause the part about the machine and the techniques and take a moment to speak about depression in general. I feel that we have moved in a positive direction when it comes to mental health in terms of awareness. Now more people are able to put a name to certain things. Now more people are quite exposed. Are you finding in your world and your experiences at SADAG and anywhere else that you have been? Because some people say, yeah, these days more people are depressed. Do you believe, and I'm not going to hold you to numbers or statistics or anything, but are you seeing that, in inverted commas, more people are depressed? Or are you seeing that more people now are aware of what it is and actually are seeking treatment?
I think it would be the latter. It's not that people don't know that mental health illnesses exist. I think people are finding ways to be able to name, because I think naming is another issue. People are finding that whatever that they feel on a daily basis has a name to it and has a way to, like, you can get help with it. So I think more people are coming out and asking for help, and I think that it's amazing in the sense that when you're struggling with something, you feel like you're alone, right? And you feel like maybe people don't understand what you might be going through, and not being able also to say, okay, I'm depressed. But another thing, actually, sorry, I divert, is the misconceptions about mental health as a whole, especially within the Black communities, right? They are followed by negative connotations and labeling, such as maybe watanya, or
as in you are crazy.
Exactly. And I think that makes people not want to seek help. However, now that people are getting more educated, there's more awareness, there's more flyers on the streets that are telling people that you can get help. People understand. More people are coming out and seeking help.
And I love that more people are feeling empowered, in the sense that, like you said, the naming part is so important. There are so many people who've been sitting, questioning their sanity, not realizing that actually what you're going through, many people are going through it, but not only that, there is help available. So now when we come to alternative approaches to depression, can you share from your perspective and your background before now we get into the transcranial magnetic stimulation? And I'm going to remind everybody listening, as we do with all types of health and medical conditions, please go and consult. You cannot take and please do not take the information we are using as what is going to be applicable to you. We don't know your medical history. We don't know all of those things. But what we do know is that you are welcome to come in and ask questions. But please, especially when it comes to mental health matters, do consult a medical professional. And that is the disclaimer I'm going to give when Gabetswe starts to give information. It's based on the experience with the various patients and not necessarily us prescribing any specific treatment to you. So Gabetswe, why is it that prescription medication does not work for everybody? And I say that with the pinch of salt that antidepressants, any kind of psychiatric medication that is prescribed, we know takes time, and sometimes medical professionals can take a while to even get the correct diagnosis because your depression might not be sitting on its own. It might be sitting in the context of bipolar disorder 2. It might be sitting in the context of borderline personality disorder and all of those things. But please remind all of us why it is that alternative methodologies are needed when medication is there.
So, first of all, I think that medication doesn't work for everyone because, we are different people physiologically, biologically. There's a lot of different factors that affect the types of medication that, like how it affects all of us. It's quite different for every one of us. And so I feel like the fact that there's alternative ways of treating it, of treating mental health, is great, And I think I'm gonna go back to just saying that physiologically, biologically, we are all different, and being screened by a psychiatrist so that they can assess individual risks, individual needs, and individual benefits is helps a lot.
Let's now jump to the part of you are now at this machine. What was shared with you? Can TMS be supplementary or complementary treatment, or is it the kind of treatment that a person needs to explore independently?
So it is used complementary, right? In a sense that it is used alongside, it can be used alongside medication as well as psychotherapy. So they can all work hand in hand to try and help you. But also, there's people who don't like putting medication in their bodies. From the get-go, they don't want medication. And usually TMS is used as like a last hope kind of thing. So it can also be used as a first-in-line defense.
Yes.
Right? And yeah, it can be used individually, but it can also be used complementary with medication and psychotherapy. And actually, with the treatments that you were talking about earlier, the infusions, the ketamine infusions, there's also people who use the TMS and the infusions and the medication and the psychotherapy. So it all just depends on, the person and what the psychiatrist has prescribed for them, tolerability as well. Because there's people who don't like the dissociative effect of intravenous infusions.
Yes.
And there's people who just have contraindications that won't allow them to be able to have TMS. For example, pacemakers, because it is a magnetic coil at the end of the day. So pacemakers and cochlear implants, things like that. Any metal actually that is from your neck to your head, that's a contraindication.
Does that include dental metal?
So, no, actually, because these days they're using it's not plastic, it's not metal, but it's okay, I forgot what it's called now.
So to everybody who's a dentist, please do help us out. But it is that material. But if somebody, for example, has a gold tooth, does that exclude them?
Yes, it does exclude them.
Wow.
They are able to get it's ferromagnetic metal
that
we don't, would rather not do the TMS on. Ferromagnetic metal, but any other thing we can do, except of course for your pacemakers and maybe like fragmented bullets, wounds that you might have.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when we come back from the news, I'm going to really get an understanding of how it works and also find out if a person has to wait to be diagnosed with depression to use this as a treatment, or if a person can proactively say, look, I'm not suffering depression, but if there are positive benefits, like can a person come and do this in inverted commas recreationally? So when we come back, stay tuned. It is 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. We begin with news just in. The South African Revenue Service has met its revenue collection target, collecting over 2 trillion rand during the previous financial year. The Revenue Service has been announcing its preliminary collection figures this afternoon. Outgoing Commissioner Edward Kieswetter says the improved collection is in line with increased tax compliance in the country. Member of Parliament Ian Cameron has assured Western Cape residents says the raids by troops deployed to the province are legal. Cameron was also in Tafelsig this morning as members of the SANDF and police started their raids. He says the houses that were raided today were identified through intelligence structures. And Swane bus services have returned to full operations after some shifts were suspended yesterday due to fuel supply challenges. The disruption left many commuters stranded. Although services were still affected this morning, the city's transport department says diesel has now been delivered to all 3 of the fuel depots that ran dry yesterday. Those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
In the traffic this afternoon in Linwood, there's been a multi-vehicle accident on the N1 South at Atterbury Road, and it is causing heavy delays from the Proof Plus interchange, so please approach with caution. In Woodmead, there's traffic pressure on the N1 South, backing up from the Butlu interchange, so please be on the lookout for that one as well. And staying on the Butlu interchange, in Calvin, expect heavy delays on the N3 South from the Butlu interchange towards Galuli's interchange. Lastly, if you're still in Protea Glen, expect heavy delays on the N12 in both directions. Likewise, if you come across any of their traffic, please do send us a WhatsApp on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Coming up
On 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John Perlman, earlier on, we asked about the people who are in their 40s and up that have never dated, never been in a relationship. Some of them have never even had a kiss. Have you ever met a person like that? And if so, what was the reasons that they shared? A gentleman who's 42 said he's never been in a relationship and he doesn't really intend to because he's so afraid of having to be responsible for someone. Did I say good morning instead of good afternoon? Afternoon, John Bowman. Sorry. I jumped straight into it. How are you?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. No, no. Short answer, I don't think I do know anyone.
There are more and more people coming out and sharing that they've never
Yeah.
dated. Never dated, never even kissed a person.
Yeah. No, not part of my experience.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is. It is. It was a really interesting conversation.
Whew, yeah, I'm still, I feel like we possibly need a part 2 because people were bringing in so many angles to that conversation. And maybe as humans, we are evolving to not necessarily need those kind of relationships. Who knows? What's coming up on your show today, John?
So, good afternoon, everyone. There's a lot happening. We've spoken a lot about water and sanitation and problems, particularly in Gauteng, but they put out various reports, does the Department of Water and Sanitation. There's the Green Drop report, which looks at sanitation treatment works, the Blue Drop report that looks at water quality. We'll talk to DG in the Department of Water and Sanitation, Sean Phillips, at 5:10. It does not make very comfortable reading some of the huge problems that are out there. SARS has just declared it has collected record amounts of revenue, as you heard a moment ago there from Mbali Dlamini. We'll look more closely at that at about 3:20. IEC launching its new logo and slogans and everything ahead of the local government elections, saying that they're looking to motivate the youth vote. And this is an enduring conversation we have every election. Why aren't young people voting? Well, we will at 10:04 ask that question. Why aren't young people voting?
Can I ask you a genuine question? Is there a belief that rebranding is going to encourage people, young people, to vote?
No, I mean, and I don't think they're as simplistic as that, thinking that one single act will make a difference. I mean, who am I to speak on behalf of the IEC? But I mean, they have had voter registration drives where they do have budget for messaging. They focus on younger people. But No, I think it's going to take more than communication. And of course, we don't often talk about the responsibility of politicians in this. You know, are young people apathetic about politics, or are they apathetic about politicians? They're different things.
And who benefits from young people not voting? Are there political parties, are there politicians that do benefit from young people not voting? And I'm asking this as a rhetorical question, but something to think about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think there are certain political parties whose leadership and message, EFF, come to mind, that is more focused on young people. You would then say, well, how come they haven't got them out in the numbers? Because you would expect them. And you might equally say that the ANC, an older party, longer traditions, older leadership, and so on, may not benefit as much from a strong youth turnout. That said, are they in some way actively or passively not doing anything to get young people to turn out? I don't think so, because I think they realize they've got to renew themselves.
Definitely.
But yeah, off the top of my head, very much.
I'll be curious to be tuning in for that one. 702 Drive with John Perlman coming up from 3 to 6 p.m.
If it's trending, timeless, or totally unexpected, it's unpacked on the Masterclass with Relebogile Mabotja. Brought to you by Standard Bank Travel on 702.
It is 23 minutes to 3 o'clock. We continue our conversation in this masterclass around transcranial magnetic stimulation. 011 883 0702. The WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We are joined by Kiabetswe Seluma, who is a technician, has a background in psychology as well. Kia, so before we went to the news, and I was asking the question around, do you have to, like, can a person walk in and say, I would just like to improve myself in my overall mental wellness? Can I try out TMS, or is it something that has to be prescribed?
So the short answer to that would be no, because it is psychiatry prescribed. Your psychiatrist actually has to consult with you, hear your medical background and your history, and both of you guys will have to come to a point where you agree to a protocol, right?
Yes.
And they have to determine which protocol would work best for you. And another thing that I do want to point out is the fact that the psychiatrist never really works alone. I think my favorite part is the fact that it's in a multidisciplinary team. So chances are your psychiatrist is talking to your psychologist and et cetera, and together they come to, they come up with ideas, and together they come to make a decision in terms of what is going to work best for you based on your medical history and so forth.
Okay, and I'm glad that we are sharing that so that there isn't a perception that it's something you can just go and do. You can, for example, choose to go for talk therapy just nje as a maintenance plan without having to even have a referral. You can just say, I actually want to be here to make sure everything is okay, make sure my mental health is sharp. I'm not waiting for a diagnosis, but with TMS, it is something that becomes protocol. And of course, again, the reason we encourage you that if you would like to explore certain things around this is you have to speak to your medical professional, because your health, overall health, is holistic, and one thing might impact another, even if you are not aware of it. Now let's talk about how the magnetic stimulation actually works. What exactly does it do? How do the magnets work in terms of treating depression?
So TMS, right? It's transcranial magnetic stimulation. It is a non-invasive brain treatment that uses very targeted magnetic pulses to stimulate the parts of your brain that control mood. A fancy word to say would be your dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, right? And I say that it's non-invasive, again, because no surgery is required and no anesthesia is required. I go back again and saying that I would be literally zapping the depression from you. Another thing that I want to say is, let me put it into perspective. In patients who struggle with depression, it means that there are certain brain circuits or neurons within your brain that are underactive or have been inactive for some time. So the think of, when you're depressed, you have a lack of motivation or a lack of interest in some things that you used to be interested in. That would be a byproduct of the fact that there's some neurons in your brain that are inactive or underactive. And so with the TMS, the stimulations that we use from the magnetic coil, for a lack of better words, would be waking up those neurons, right? To stimulate them and to help the brain reconnect and function more effectively. And there's different kinds of protocols. There are two main types that we use: an excitatory protocol and an inhibitory protocol. Excitatory, would obviously mean that you are activating the neurons, right? Whereas with the inhibitory protocols, it means that you're suppressing them. So I want you to picture in a depressed person, the neurons are inactive, as I've said. So the excitatory protocol, again, would be waking them up. And it would be the opposite for someone who struggles from anxiety, in a sense that, when you're anxious, you're very hypervigilant, you're paranoid,
overstimulated.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's because that part of your brain is overly active. So the inhibitory protocol that we use is used to inhibit those neurons. And that is how transcranial magnetic stimulation works. And these protocols increase neuroplasticity, which is just another way of saying that it's helping your brain to forge new pathways to be able to restore your brain's functionality back to what it was.
So I'm going to ask a question that might be a little bit technical. You touched on the word of the neurons that control, or the parts of your brain that control the mood. If a person is depressed due to a chemical imbalance, right, would the same protocol and approach be used? Because, and you're going to have to guide me here, my assumption would be, if let's say you're dealing with a person who is depressed, in inverted commas, for no obvious reason, right? As in they have a chemical imbalance. And then the person who's struggling with depression because they've just lost their child. And it's 3-4 years in the grief and they are struggling. Would the protocol be different for those two people, as in what you are stimulating magnetically? Would it be different parts of the brain, or would it be, the psychiatrist may use that to complement what the medication is trying to do with uplifting the mood?
So essentially, whether you lost a child 3-4 years ago, or whether you are quote unquote depressed for no reason, you are still depressed, and it is still a chemical imbalance. And the part of the brain that controls moods is the same for everyone. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is the same for everyone. So either way, according to whatever caused your depression, you are still depressed, and you will still be treated via that same protocol with the assistance of medication, or not, if you don't want to have medication, and alongside psychotherapy, because psychotherapy is very important, to integrate also to integrate the effects of the transcranial magnetic stimulation at that point in time. And for your psychiatrist also to assess, because the transcranial magnetic stimulation happens over, a period of time. And in the middle of that treatment, it would be wise for you, usually you would be as a sense of reviewing, you see your psychiatrist to review how has it been so far, what are you seeing that is changing, do you have any concerns, etc., so that perhaps adjustments can be made, because at the end of the day, it is very tailored to your specific needs. It's not standardized. I say one size fits all.
Yes. Okay, and I appreciate that, because I think for a person on the outside, they might treat depressions differently, in inverted commas, and I'm emphasizing this because the one can be easily explained and the one cannot. And of course, that goes back to the whole concept of the stigma attached and why it's so important. Now, when it comes to TMS protocol, how long does it take? How long are the sessions? I know from the brief stuff that I've read, it can be a few minutes at a time and then you stop. Sorry, I constantly, anybody watching on YouTube can see what I'm doing with my hands. It's like holding fists next to my head. But chat to us about once you're stimulating, why is it that it's stop-start?
So the stop-start is just the protocol itself, right? There's resting periods in between the pulses. Also, if it were to be ongoing, that would kind of be a bit too much to handle for the individual or the patient. How long does it take? Because of the different protocols, it can take anything between about 10 minutes to 35 minutes, depending on which protocol you have been prescribed.
Is it painful?
Ooh, I think I'm going to like this question. So it's not painful.
Yes.
It's gentle taps on your scalp, right?
Yes.
And how does it feel? Patients have kind of described it as almost like bubble wrap popping really closely to your head. But my personal favorite is when this patient told me that it felt like a mechanical woodpecker.
So that...
Yeah, because it's like clicks, repetitive... So the full word actually is repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, and it's repetitive because it's, it goes on, and then has resting periods. So I thought it was really cool for her to describe it as a mechanical woodpecker, because it kind of puts it into perspective for someone who hasn't had it before. But it is not painful at all, and there's a lot of communication between myself and the patient at the time, whether to reassure them or whether for them to let me know if they're uncomfortable or something, so that we can adjust the amplitude or etc.
And then when it comes to your role, because I almost feel like technician reduces your role. It sounds like, you go for a sauna and the person just does the thing and then says, I'll call the doctor, where it's very, what's the word? It almost feels a little bit colder than your role would, I'm assuming, be more of, are you okay? How you're still there from the psychology background part. Is that how all technicians in the world do it? Is that just how they did it here where you are?
So I'm glad you asked, because, the machine itself is just a machine. I think what makes an impact on the patient would be the technician themselves, because you're dealing with someone who, first of all, doesn't know how this thing feels.
Probably scared.
Probably scared as well, yes. Has tried antidepressants, has tried therapy, has come to a point where they've lost hope. So my role in there would be, to explain the process, to reassure them, to be patient, to be kind, to make sure that they're comfortable, and to explain it as many times as, they need in order for them to be comfortable. But I do think that more than anything, it is definitely more the technician's role that makes the patient, better and regain hope and strength, because you have a lot of conversations with them while this machine is clicking onto, their heads. You get to learn more about them. You get to learn about how or why they are suffering from mental health at the point. You form a relationship with them. And at the end of the day, it is you that is instilling hope in this person again. It is you that is helping them feel like themselves again and find hope where they saw none.
Yes. I'm going to go to the messages coming through on the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Hi, Relebogile. I'm an MDD patient on antidepressants. Can I swap to TMS? Is there another way they administer except needles? And I have a huge phobia of needles. And does medical aid pay for it? And does it have side effects? This is from Busi. In fairness, Busi asked this question about 15 minutes ago before we got into the details of the pain. It's not invasive. There are no needles. But what is MDD, and can a patient swap? Or again, it's consult with your psychiatrist and discuss the protocol.
So MDD is an abbreviation for major depressive disorder.
Oh, I got you.
And Sorry, she asked so many questions. What was the other one?
So the other one was they've got MDD on antidepressant. They're asking if they can swap two. So they're saying, can I now basically stop this and start TMS? And they're saying, is there any other way but needles? But there are no needles involved.
So, stopping your medications without consulting with your physician or psychiatrist is highly unadvisable. Like, I would not recommend that at all. So no, you can't just stop your medication and then start the treatment. It is very important for you to consult with your physician, your psychiatrist, and like any other medical intervention, it is always important for you to consult and not just take matters into your own hands, especially with the fact that, stopping antidepressants abruptly can cause quite a lot of side effects. And I think she also asked if medical aid covers it.
Yes.
So there is a medical aid that covers it. However, it is very dependent on, what medical aid you're on, what plan you're on. And most of the time, your treating psychiatrist would have to motivate for your medical aid to approve it. So short answer is yes, medical aid does cover it.
And then the word we were looking for is porcelain. For the teeth.
Oh, yeah.
That's the word that went out our hands.
I even forgot.
And then the other word we're looking for, Dr. Philemon says, very interesting conversation on TMS. My creation of zapping in Setswana is ke go tsapola. That is so made. I'm sorry, that is so funny and creative. But hey, the medical world needs to get to a place where we are using people's home languages to create certain language. Now, another question that's asked, would your current guest have any information on the use of the therapy for cerebral palsy, as she mentioned, neuroplasticity? So outside of depression, what else can TMS be used for?
So, we treat not only major depressive disorder, but we also treat anxiety. We also treat chronic pain, like your neuropathic pain and your fibromyalgia, right? But the cerebral palsy question, there's still a lot more research that is being done with different disorders and illnesses. But that is a question that would be best answered by a psychiatrist themselves. But from a TMS point of view, cerebral palsy, I think it can be treated. It would just depend on the protocol that you and your psychiatrists come to determine together.
Yes.
But I do feel like it's a better suited question for a psychiatrist themselves.
Definitely, and we know in the world of medicine and all types of health disorder treatments, it is constantly evolving. Once they've figured out this works for this, then they can start to integrate other things. Another question says, how does TMS differ from neurofeedback, if at all? Ooh, what is neurofeedback?
Wow. I've come to the point of the interview. I actually have no answer.
All right. And it happens. It happens. So what I'm going to do then is ask the question about, are there negative side effects to TMS? Have you observed a point where a psychiatrist says, this is not working? And what does that actually look like? What does not working for the patient look like?
Let's see. So first of all, I just want to address the side effects, right?
Yes.
That come with the transcranial magnetic stimulation. The treatment itself is relatively safe. And the most side effects that you would have is like some rawness or tenderness to the treatment site, a slight headache that can be treated by paracetamol, your usual Panado or ibuprofen. And
ibuprofen, paracetamol.
Yeah,
yes.
you're not ill. And what's another one? There's disturbances. There may be disturbances in your sleep as well. And another thing that I've realized is patients tend to be quite exhausted after, their treatments. Because if you think about it, there's a lot of stimulation happening in your brain. There's a lot of work that your brain is going through during those 10 to 35 minutes, But how would you know that it's not working for you? So one thing I've realized is that people that are not patients themselves, like, family members or your friends or your physician or your psychiatrist, are most likely the ones that will see change within you before you see change yourself. And if you've lived with something for so long, even if you feel a slight change, you are hesitant, or you would be hesitant to admit that, okay, something is happening and I don't want to get ahead of myself, because what if it won't last? And what if it's just a placebo effect?
Yes.
Things like that. But it doesn't not work. It's just that sometimes, maybe depending on, there's different factors to different people, but I won't say that it doesn't work. I think it just affects people differently. And the effects of the treatment itself also manifest at different points of treatment for different people. There's people who feel a difference within the maybe 2 to 3 weeks, or some have a delayed effect, in a sense that they start feeling the changes only after treatment.
So in essence, there isn't a part which says it's not working because now I'm in pain and the headache won't go away. It's more of, are we seeing progress or not? Now, neurofeedback is a non-invasive therapeutic technique, which is a form of biofeedback that trains individuals to improve brain function by monitoring their brainwave activity in real time. Sounds like we have another masterclass coming through. We're going to have to leave it there, Gabez. But thank you so much for your time. And for those of you that are curious, head over to syntonic.me and you can find out about TMS. You guys do have a psychiatrist there as well,
Yes, we
correct?
do.
So you can get a referral and go and see if it works for you. Now, if you're ready for your next adventure, Standard Bank Travel makes booking, paying for, and managing flights easier than ever. All straight from the Standard Bank banking app. Enjoy up to 40% off flights for friends and family, plus complimentary travel insurance and lounge access when you book with your qualifying credit card. Download the Standard Bank app and book your next flight via Standard Bank Travel. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Progress builds, it moves, and it has a partner. That partner is Anglo-American. Together, we're building progress where it matters most across South Africa. With 1.6 billion rand unlocked for entrepreneurs through our Impact Finance Network, 58 billion rand invested through our Kumba Iron Ore business into infrastructure development, healthcare, community upliftment, and more. These are a few examples proving that when collaboration is real, progress moves faster. As a sponsor of this year's South African Investment Conference, we continue to work with our partners to unlock our country's full potential. South Africa has a partner. Anglo-American. Mining potential. Building beyond.
At Checkers, Easter is better and better with extra savings on every shop. Get more for less with deals on Mr. Sweet Chocolate Mallow Eggs, 24 per pack for $99.99. Jacob's Kroning or Gold Caffeinated Instant Coffee, 200 or 230 grams for $159.99. And Baby Soft 2-ply White or Supreme Quilts Toilet Rolls, 18 per pack for $129.99. Deals valid until 6 April. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
Thank you so much for joining us on 702 Afternoons and for asking the questions that you do, because yes, it allows us to then plan for our future shows. 702 Afternoons at 702.co.za. The email for the show. Download the app. PrimeMediaPlus.com is the website. It's 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
The Revenue Service meets its collection target and troops conduct raids in gang-riddled areas in Cape Town. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The South African Revenue Service has surpassed its revenue collection target